Amy Moncure, and today's episode is dedicated to helping military families get their pets overseas. You will learn the 4 steps needed to prepare your pets and why you should share this video with every pet-loving military family you know. You may not have any plans to move yet, but by the time you have orders to Korea, Hawaii, or Japan, it may be too late. Around June, we had an idea that we would be moving to Korea. If I would have known what's in today's episode, I would have started preparing our cats immediately and saved our family a lot of stress and hundreds of dollars. If you are just getting started, it's important to know it may take way longer than you expect to prepare your pets. Just starting the process, Korea can take up to 2 months. Hawaii comes in at 6 months, and Japan a whopping 8 months if you're just beginning the process. 2 months? 6 months, 8 months, that's too long. One of your other options is to ship your beloved pet via courier after you've left and your pet has met all the requirements. This can cost up to $2,000 per pet, or you can keep your pet in quarantine at your new destination. However, daily quarantine fees will really start to add up. And in either case, your pet is in an unusual environment and will be really stressed. Or you can stay behind like I did until our pets were cleared. Please share this with every military family you know. I wish someone would have shared it with me. Instead, I was sitting in the veterinarian's office at the military clinic with several other families, very stressed, worried, upset, because we were running out of time. We weren't sure how we were going to get our pets there. Remember, Japan can take up to 8 months for pet clearance. So if your PCS season is coming up, start to prepare your pets 8 months before your first possible move date to go to Japan. If you go somewhere else, great, all is well. If Japan is on the ticket, you'll be one of the lucky ones that doesn't have to worry about pet timelines. This is a 4-step process. I will share the steps and then break down each one in detail. Step 1, get your cat or dog ISO 15-digit chipped, rabies shots, and vaccines. Step 2, get a titer test, also known as an FAVN test. This test is good for up to 2 years. Step 3, get an international health certificate within 10 days of travel. Step 4, book your pet airline tickets. First come, first serve. Here we go. Step 1, get your pet an ISO 15-digit chip, rabies shots, and current vaccines. The microchip is an ISO-compliant 15-digit chip. Home Again and Avid are acceptable chips. Our cat Lou had a 10-digit chip, so we had to get her re-chipped with the 15-digit ISO-compliant chip. Now this is really important. The 15-digit microchip must be implanted before the first vaccines. Our cat Parkour had all of her rabies shots and was current on her vaccines. However, she was not chipped. So we needed to get her chipped and then get her new shots because those first shots didn't count. She was not a happy cat. So now your cat or dog is chipped. They will need their rabies shots. Actually, if they're headed to Japan, they will need 2 rabies shots on record, at least 31 days apart from each other. They will also need to be current on their vaccines. Our veterinarian at Randolph Air Force Base told us that our cats would also need the FBRCP shot. Thanks, Melissa. Our cats arrived Korea with no quarantine. For dogs, additional vaccines are not required. However, the distemper and bordetella vaccines are highly recommended to prevent kennel cough and other illnesses in the event your dog is kenneled. And really, these 2 vaccines are great preventative maintenance. This is also a great time to work on deworming your pet and keeping them flea-free. Step 2, get a titer test, also known as an FAVN test. Now, this is the part of the process that will take the most time, so start early. You may have to wait up to 30 days from when the rabies shots were given to when the blood samples are drawn. In our case, both cats had rabies shots before being chipped, so they were rabies-free. However, I had to get them both chipped, which meant new rabies shots, so that the rabies shots would show up on their chip record when scanned. My civilian vet said we'd have to wait up to 30 days before taking a blood sample for the FAVN test. My military vet said we could take the sample a little bit earlier, but we had to be a little bit concerned that we might receive a false positive because the rabies vaccine was just injected. The false positive is a bit of a gamble because it takes so long to get the results of the FAVN test back, sometimes up to 30 days. Your civilian vet will send the FAVN blood samples off to the Kansas State Laboratories for about a fee of $200. Your military vet will send the sample off to the DoD laboratories for about a cost of $60. Okay, so now you have the FAVN blood samples sent off. Now the clock actually starts. Korea, you need to wait 30 days from when the blood sample was taken before your pet arrives in country in order to avoid extended quarantine. Korea is one of the easier places to take your pet. Hawaii, you need to wait 120 days, which is about 4 months from when the blood sample was taken before your pet arrives in country to avoid quarantine. And finally, Japan. Remember, your cat or dog must have at least 2 rabies shots on record 31 days apart. Not only must you have the 2 shots on ship record, the second shot must be administered before the first shot expires, which could be 1 year or 3 years depending on the manufacturer guidelines. And finally, the latest rabies shot your pet receives must be less than 12 months old before your pet enters Japan. Then you must wait 180 days, which is about 6 months from the time the blood sample was taken until your pet arrives in Japan in order for your pet to avoid extended quarantine. This is why I recommend starting the pet process at least 8 months before your first possible PCS date. Also, Japan has an additional requirement that notification needs to be sent to the port of entry at least 40 days before your pet arrived. If you are flying on commercial airlines, this notification does not need to be given if flying on military air. Step 3. Get an international health certificate within 10 days of travel. This step is pretty easy. By this time, your pet will have been chipped, will be current on all vaccines, and will have passed their FAVN, also known as a titer test. Hopefully, you'll have cleared the waiting period for your destination and will not have to quarantine your pet or make other arrangements. A few notes about getting your international health certificate. First, I highly recommend you go to your military vet to have this certificate completed. Your military vet will have an expert with a lot of experience getting different animals into different countries, and they do it all the time. Your civilian vet will probably not have as much experience, especially as you move further and further away from a military installation. Second, make this appointment as soon as you have your flight date information. You don't want extra delays because you could not get a vet appointment. Third, the form must be completed in blue ink. Your military vet will be familiar with this requirement. Fourth, do not give the original certificate to anyone except for the quarantine officer in your new destination. If the original was lost, even if it's at the fault of the airlines, your pet may be sent home or sent to quarantine for the full length of time. Go make at least 3 copies of this form. 1 for the airlines, 1 to attach to your pet's crate, and 1 for your records. Just a side note, make sure you have copies of your military orders, especially if you're a dependent flying separately than your spouse. By this time, you may be weary of all the requirements needed to clear your pet. However, there is one last step. Step 4, book your pet's airline tickets. First come, first serve. We flew United Airlines because it was the only way to get our cats from Texas to Seoul, Korea. At the time of booking, American Airlines would not allow pets in cabin on a trans-Pacific flight. And Delta Cargo would not fly pets on flights longer than 12 hours, including clearing customs. I started in San Antonio, Texas, flew to San Francisco, and then on to Seoul, Korea. The San Francisco to Seoul, Korea flight, 12 hours and 15 minutes. No luck with Delta. We had 2 cats traveling to Korea. United only allows 1 cat per kennel per person. Because our cats were not ready by the report date, I traveled with 2 cats in tow after my husband had already arrived in Korea. Lou traveled carry-on. Yes, she is my husband's favorite. She's also 9 years old. Parkour is only 1 year old and we thought she could handle the trauma a little bit better. Now, there is a limit to how many cats can fly in cabin. So make sure you call your airline early to book your in-cabin carry-on pet ticket. We paid about $125. Then I needed to call a separate phone number to book our United Pet Cargo ticket. Again, there is a limit to how many pets can fly in cargo, so make the call as soon as possible. With military orders, we paid about $640 for this ticket. Had our pet requirements been met by the time of the order date, my husband and I would have traveled together, one of us each with a carry-on cat, saving us about $500. Let's recap the 4 steps. Step 1, get your cat or dog ISO 15-digit chip, rabies shots, and current vaccines. Step 2, get a titer test, also known as an FAVN test. The results are good for up to 2 years. Step 3, get an international health certificate within 10 days of travel. Step 4, book your pet airline tickets. Remember, first come, first serve. The process is tedious, but if you know you need to start early and you work closely with your military vet, you and your family and your pets can all travel together to your new military installation. Thank you for subscribing, and comment below on your experiences, good or bad, on traveling with pets internationally.